Welcome, welcome, Mohana Gill. I am so pleased to have this time with you to interview you. And I wanted to also acknowledge you are an award-winning author in Malaysia. And I think, have you received more awards than any other author?
Yes, I think for Malaysia, I'm the only one who has received 10 Best in the World awards from the Gourmand World Cookbook Awards. As you know, Mariko, they are the Oscars of the book industry, right? They're the ones yeah. And I've been very lucky that from day one, I actually, basically, when I look at, I've written six coffee table books, and all the six coffee table books have won Best in the World awards. But I think it is not so much the award, um, but I think it's a feeling of satisfaction to know that whatever you are doing, somebody else is looking at it and telling you, hey, you are in the right direction, you are giving the right messages, and whatever you are doing is meaningful.
Hmm.
I
It's
think that,
quite remarkable. Yeah, it's quite
yeah,
remarkable. And so we're going to talk about your journey as an author, how you came to write the Moringalicious book. This is of interest to us, and also the legacy that you have created for yourself, but also for generations.
yeah,
But first, I wanted to start with a conversation we had, which really prompted the idea of doing this interview. The last time we spoke, you told me that you didn't start writing until you were 70.
that's correct. Yes.
And can you tell us your age now?
I've turned 92.
Oh my goodness. And it's like really late at night for you. We're doing this when it's like 10
It,
o'clock
it,
at
it's,
night for
it's 10
you,
o'clock at night.
which is always amazing when we connect. I'm either just waking up and you're already, you're active, and I'm going to bed and you're active, and I'm like, when does she ever sleep? Like, it's really
No,
incredible.
Mariko, from the time I started to write, I sort of got myself into some kind of a routine. Because remember that I'm also a wife and a mother. I run a home, and I've got to make sure that everybody's got enough food to eat and everybody has eaten and all these things, you know, like a normal housewife. There are so many things. So I decided when I started to write that I would do whatever I needed to do for my children, for the house, shopping, etc., etc. And we would finish dinner, say about 8 o'clock in the evening. And then at 8 o'clock, then after that, I would go upstairs, I would have a shower, and I would sit in front of the television. I'm not a television buff. I don't watch television, but I listen to music from television. So I use it. So that say from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night, I will sit in front of the TV. And as you know, I cannot sit, I'm always knitting. So,
Yes.
so that is that's a therapy for me. And that is the time that I sort of calm down and come back to sort of an equilibrium. And so I do that for about an hour or so, where I'm like completely at peace with myself. Then I will come down to my office, and normally I start to work at about 11 o'clock. And that time, what happens, Mariko? There are no phone calls. Nobody is saying, Mom, where is this? Mom, where can I find this? Or you're looking for this, or somebody is at the door, or somebody wants something. So that is the peace time for me. So that is
Mm.
where I sit, and I found when I started to write that worked best for me because it was completely uh,
Yes.
a comfort place. There was no interruptions, no phone calls, nothing. And so for that it has become a habit. And so I've been doing that for for 20 years now.
Wow. Well,
And
take us back to that moment you decided to write. So, what was interesting and is interesting to me is when you talked about the change of your name. But
yes,
what had you write? What was the prompting moment? What changed in that time?
Mariko, I've always been a very content and happy person. And when I got married and I had my kids, I decided that I wanted to be a full-time housewife.
So, you had been already in your academic life. So,
Yes, I was already in the university and I was teaching, and I got married. And then when I was expecting my first baby, I always felt that I wanted just to be home with my babies and not have to worry about anything else. And I'm very lucky because I have a very supportive husband.
mm,
So he said to me that it's entirely up to you. If you want to work, that's fine. If you don't want to work, that's fine as well. But on the drop of a hat, I just dropped everything and
uh,
I gave up. So I stayed home and I had three babies in 4 years.
oh,
So I
yeah.
was busy. I had three. But then, not only that, Mariko, when I look back at my life, I seem to think that those 12 years of my life where I gave up working and stayed home with my kids, I think were the happiest years of my life. Very fulfilling and extremely I was at complete ease with myself. I was always there for my children whenever they wanted you. And when you have three little guys, somebody is always looking for mommy one way or the other. Then as they saw that I cooked with them, I read stories with them, I took them for walks. Then as they grew older, I drove them to school, brought them. So I was completely involved with that. And I was very happy, extremely happy. In fact, I must tell you a story. When you, and at that time, of course, I used to do a lot of baking and cooking. So the perception that a lot of people had of me was Rose Gill, but I was known as Rose Gill, wife of Dr. Gill, mother of Anil, Sanjeev, and Rakesh, a very good cook. At parties, she would dish up beautiful things, and she would bake cakes and go to people's homes, etc., etc. So one day I was sitting down and talking to this guy that I'd known for many number of years, and somewhere along the line, the topic came up, and he said to me, "Which year did you complete your MBA?" And I told him the year. So this guy looked at me and he said, "You MBA?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "No, because when we think of you, we only think of, this mummy with the three little babies cooking, doing all these nice things. We never thought that you would be, uh, you know, uh, have an academic career or had any kind of an education or whatever." So I was very happy doing that, Mariko, for that many number of years. And everybody knew me as Rose. My name is actually because we have two names, Rose Mohana Gill or Mohana Rose Gill or whatever it is. But Mohana was never used. Even my husband called me Rose. Everybody in the house, it was always Rose. And so when the children grew up and all of them had completed their education, and one of my boys got married, and then I one day sat down and I thought to myself, I am now 70 and I really need to do something for myself.
Mm.
So far, I'm very happy to do what I did. That's not an issue at all. But I want to do, and then everybody. So they said, "Oh, why don't you write academic, write about cost accounting that I used to teach, or economics, or whatever." But of course, I was always very fond of cooking. So whenever everybody came to the house, they knew that they would get good food or a different kind of a food. So some people sort of said to me, why don't you think about writing a cookbook? And I thought about it, and then I did a little bit of research, and then I found that there were 50,000 cookbooks in the world,
Oh,
every genre, every cuisine that you want. And I was thinking to myself, I mean, do I really need to write another book of, the similar kind of book? So I gave it a little bit of thought. But one thing in our house was that we always ate a lot of fruit, lots of fruit. So my husband was a great one. We would have local fruits, we would buy fruits imported or whatever. And it used to be a joke in our house when people came, they said, was it a fruitful visit? Because, we always served. So then I began to think and I said, maybe I might think of doing something with fruit rather than the normal cuisine. And it was at that time, Mariko, that my husband got involved in an organization which they call the Anti-Aging Society, which I think is ridiculous because there's no such thing as anti-aging. We are going to age anyway. Nevertheless, they formed this society, and there was an international meeting in Las Vegas. So I went with my husband, as I always do, to this conference. And while they were all talking about, anti-aging, this and that, I walked at the foyer of the hotel where the conference was being held. And I saw, Mariko, they had all these things for anti-aging, anti-wrinkle cream, Botox, anything to make you look prettier, no wrinkles, no this, no that. You name it, and it was all there. And the other thing that I noticed was there were pills, all kinds of pills, anti-aging pills, what you call it, no Moringa pills, but there was garlic pills, ginger pills, and all the other kinds of pills that would make you feel and make you more healthy. So I sat there one day and I thought to myself, what happened to the real food? Why is it that we are always thinking of popping pills for this and that or the other? So then I came back and then I gave it a little bit of thought. I did a lot of research and I found out that there were not many books written on fruits.
oh.
So then I thought, okay, wow, now I'm going to do something a little bit different. And I also wanted to do something a little bit different from the ordinary cookbook, not just recipes, recipes, photograph, photograph. So what I did was, if you have a copy of my first book, which is fantastic, which is like almost like an encyclopedia, because the first half of the book tells you a little bit about the fruit, its origin, which country it originated, how it came from that country to this country, a little bit about its nutritional value, and just a little bit, not maybe one page. And then the second half of the book was recipes. So it became a little bit different kind of a book. And of course, when I wrote the book, like you will ask me, Mariko, how did my family react? My children, I have three boys, right? You've met Rakesh. They all looked at me and said, Mom, who's going to read your book? Who's going to buy your books? And I had no clue about writing or anything like that. So my husband said to them, look, just let her write it. If nobody buys her books, let her give it away to her friends and her relatives. That is fine. So that's how it all got started. And of course, I had not even a clue about how to write a book. And I thought, Mariko, I was so smart that all I needed to do was, I've got all these facts and I'll sit down and there, and the book will, like magic, the book will come out. But it didn't happen. So my second son, Anil, said to me, Mom, you can't do that. You will have to have a team to help you. You will have to have an editor. You will have to have a photographer. So he introduced me to one of his friends who came to see me and then said to me, Auntie Rose, to write the book, you will need all these things. So that's how I got started, and that's how I wrote my first book. And I decided when I was writing the book that instead of calling it Rose Gill, I thought I will give it my original name, Mohana, which nobody knew. So the funny part was when the book came out and they looked and they said to me, "Who is Mohana Gill?" So that is when Mohana Gill was born. That is the
Wow.
day I think Mohana Gill was born, an identity that identified Mohana Gill with books. Mohana Gill, the author. So
Mm.
that's how it all came about.
How did that feel? What is that like inside? Like what?
At that time, Mariko, I never thought about all these things. When you're in the midst of doing something, it just happens and you get carried away with the flow and everything else. I think the wow moment came to me when the book won an award, an
Mm.
international award. And there I am in Beijing up on the stage and being awarded best uh, uh, fruit book in the world, a special award of the jury. And then they called out my name, Mohana Gill. And I went up there and I thought to myself, that's me. Yeah,
Mm.
that's me. Yeah.
Wow. So that transition, was there ever another time where you experienced it? Because you talked about the transition between the academic life and being a mother. So that was a very big divergence from what, yourself as your identity. So you
Yeah.
did another identity change
Yeah.
later. Similar to that, did you just have the idea, I'm going to do this, and then you just follow it?
No, no, I just thought that, and when I started to write, I never ever envisaged myself to be an author. Neither did I think that I would write numerous books or whatever. I just thought, well, it's a good experience. I write one book and that's it. But then when Frutastic won 3 awards, right? Then I thought to myself, maybe that's something right that I'm doing. And Mariko, it was also at that time that my eldest son, Sanjeev, who's an oncologist, he became a vegetarian. He
Oh.
was one of those foodies. He loved his food and he loved his drinks and he loved different kinds of cuisines. And one day, overnight, he decided that he was going to become a vegetarian.
Mm.
So then I began to think, and I thought to myself, now what can I cook for this son of mine who loved his food so much, but now who does not eat any kind of meat or anything and is a completely vegetarian? So what I did was all the food that he enjoyed, I converted all those cuisines into vegetarian
Oh.
means. So that's what I did. And then I wrote the book Vegemania, which was devoted to him. And of course, to my surprise, Vegemania got the best vegetarian cookbook in the world.
Gosh.
So then I thought to myself, yes, I think now I am doing something right, and people are recognizing me and asking me, or whatever the case may be. So that's what happened with the rest of it, I guess, is history. It just so happened. But I've got to tell you a little bit about the children's books,
Yeah, that's
how I came to get to this. So when I wrote Frutastic and Vegemania, and people would ask me to come and talk to them about fruits and vegetables, and we did demonstrations and we did some recipes and fruits and vegetables. And some of the parents came to me and they said, Mrs. Gill, what do we do? Our children don't eat fruits and vegetables.
mm,
Then I began to think, and it was about that time that my first grandchild was born.
mm,
And my granddaughter's name is Haley. And so then I thought, why don't I write some books for children? So
mm,
my first 2 books for children is actually Haley's Vegemania Garden and Haley's Frutastic Garden, which is
oh,
the from the mother book, to about the children's book. And lo and behold, those 2 books got Best in the World awards as well.
gee.
And the little character of Haley in the book. is actually the character of my granddaughter. She
Okay.
was 2 or 3 years old. And when I started to write, I wanted to write about her, but I also wanted a character that would look like her. So I got my illustrator to come to the house. And when my granddaughter came from Australia, my illustrators spent a little bit of time with my granddaughter talking. She was about 2 or 3 years old, talking to her. So the little hairstyle, if you can see in the book with the
Yeah.
ponytail,
So what we
yes,
see
Haley.
behind you, and it looks like she's the character is in your room behind you, and it looks like she's
That's
looking over the chair you're sitting on.
yes, yes. So
Yeah.
that's where we
Yeah.
started our Haley's books. So once I wrote these two books and we got best in the world for these two books, then I thought, yes, I need to emphasize on our children because I felt that they are our future and we need to tell them about good food. We need to talk to them about health. We need to talk about all these things. And through Haley, then I went on and did many other books on fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, whatever. And then, of course, many years later, Ari was born, my grandson. So when Ari was 4 years old, he came to me one day and he said, "How come, Mom?" He calls me Mom, "that you write books about my cousin and I'm not mentioned?" So I
Oh.
said to you, because you were not even born, Ari, at that time.
Mm.
So subsequently, I've written 4 books where I have got a new little character, Haley's cousin called Ari. So the subsequent little books on, which is the Moringalicious, which is the Flowerlicious, which is the Awesome Animals and Fantastic Malaysia. These 4 books have got Ari in the book as well. So basically, even when I'm writing, I'm still thinking of not only my grandchildren, but I'm thinking of our future of our children, and how they are going to look at this book. And of course, when I was writing these books, and whenever a Haley came, she would sit with me and give me some ideas to say maybe you should include this, or maybe you should include that. And of course, Ari is much more vocal, and he's very particular about about his look in the book, the hat that he wears or the shirt that he's wearing, and that kind of thing. So for me, it has been a very interesting and extremely fun kind of a thing to be able to do something together involving my whole family.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I see like behind you, a collection of the different books and, it was such an accomplishment to have all of those behind you, literally behind you. And when I was with you, and we'll talk about how I came to come to visit you and spend time with you. You also had a book called Leela
Yes.
that I
That's
read.
my
Yeah.
mother's, yes. That's the book I will show you
And
here.
I read that book and
Yeah, that's
it,
this book.
yeah, beautiful story. Very interesting because it really gives the insight about your life as well by seeing what all
Yes.
happened with Leela and the kind of stamina that she had. Also, so because I read that book, I could see where so much of that deep devotion came for the family and so our mothers play such an important role.
And
Yours,
for yeah,
yeah.
yours and mine. And for me, whatever I am today is all because of my mother,
Mm.
because of the values she put into us, because of all the things she taught us, what is important. Family is the most important thing. And to be able to share, to be able to share. And if you read the book, you would also know that once my father died, then we were we had enough to eat, but there was never abundant. So we learned how to share. To tell you a story, Mariko, we would sit and have dinner every night with my mother. My mother and we have 5 of us. So 5 of her children and her, we would sit down. And once a week, we could afford to have chicken. The rest of the week, it was vegetables and whatever else. but it was a treat once a week to have chicken. Now, as you know, the chicken has got two legs, two thighs, two breasts, whatever. And when you put the chicken on the dining table and you've got five little children, I want the thigh, I want the leg, I want this one. And my mother would say, "You guys eat chicken. I don't like chicken." So she would not have the chicken. Later years, Mariko, I realized it was not that she did not like chicken. She felt that if you took one piece, there would be one less for her children.
Oh
So
gosh.
that is what I call mother's love. And even today, Ari will always tell me when we're sitting down to eat, "Mom, why are you always serving everybody else? Why don't you sit down?" Because it is a habit in me. I always serve my children and grandchildren, and then I will sit down to eat. So I think in today's day, I think, Mariko, the children have lost the art of sharing. It is
Mm,
always for myself and me alone. Me, me, me. We
mm.
never grew up like that. That is why I feel, even at 92, that I still have some things that I can share with the rest of the world.
Oh,
And, and that is something that keeps me going.
yeah, it is so inspiring. Because yeah, when people have experienced hardship, and of course we did too, that's a whole other world. Um, when you have that difficulty, it changes how you view everything after that. And yeah, so we see every generation. Um, who has whatever the experience, there's such an experience of abundance in certain ways today, but the threat of that abundance, being taken away, and people then don't know how to operate. When
Yeah,
we've had these different, supply chain breaks, or things happening in the world, you realize how fragile and
yeah.
vulnerable we are. We live with that even though we don't ex might not experience it every day. But yeah, I read that book, Leela, and it was just such a beautiful story. And, I have so many stories about my mother, and I thought I should write a story about my mother someday, and I just never do, right? But I'm 69 years old, and I'm writing my first book, Moringa
Oh,
Memoirs. Yeah. So I thought, okay, so you can start this time late in your life.
yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
You can start at any age.
Yeah, at any
And if you
age.
want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah. And I have my granddaughter, one granddaughter here with me. So she's experiencing Moringa every day in all different ways. And I make, Moringa Mojo. She comes running. I just, we have starting to leaf out right now. And so I just made Moringa pesto with cilantro. And then she's just like looking for it all the time. But it's part of her every day. And then I have three grandchildren of Jensen, and I see them twice a year. And I've done a little cooking class with them, and for them to be able to put moringa in different things. And so it might be that they never embrace it like Amaya does, because Amaya like is in that Moringa
Yeah,
Delicious Malaysia book. It's so interesting because when she comes into the book, it's when the food is being made, and that's pretty much when she comes. Like she always comes for food.
yeah.
But that my grandsons might only have the experience of moringa as a nostalgic childhood thing of whenever I come, I'm bringing that to them. Rather, they might not embrace it and say, "Oh, I'm going to put moringa in all of my food." That might be the only experience that they have, which then later in life makes some impact and they remember it and they come back to moringa in some way for their children. So that's one of the issues that I see, just how to bring nutritious food to children who are bombarded with the commercials of all different kinds of food that might not be so good for them. So let's talk about Moringa and Moringalicious. How did that book come about? Because you're writing all these Moringa, I mean, all these different recipe books for children. Where did that come into the scene?
See, after I did the children's book, I felt that I wanted to write a book about the country that I grew up in, Myanmar. So I wrote a book called Myanmar Cuisine, Culture and
I
Custom.
have it.
Yeah,
It's so
which
beautiful.
again, won Best Asian Cuisine Book in the world. And then after that, I wanted to do something. Uh, it disturbed me, Mariko, whenever I went out and I saw in a restaurant a family of four walking in. They would sit at the dining table, they would order the food, and every single one of them would take out their either their iPads or their phones and would be playing with it. There was no conversation between the mom and the children or between the brothers and sisters. And then the food came, they all ate their food, put the phones back, and they went. And similarly, I also realized that there are not many families that sit and eat together because one will say, no, it's my time for me to watch my serial, so I'm going to sit and eat my dinner in front of the television. Somebody else will say something else. So this, I wanted to bring the family back to the table, to eat
Mhm.
together, to cook together. So I came up with this book called Happylicious. Happylicious, happy and delicious. And that book I wrote, again, it won best in the world, but that book was written a little bit differently. Normally in a cookbook, Mariko, as you know, the hero of the cookbook are the recipes. But in this book, what I did was I took children from different parts of the world, from India, from China, from Burma, from Africa, and I used those pictures of those children and tried to say commonly that all children, no matter which part of the world they live in, they all need the same thing, they all want the same thing, and we need to bring the family back to the table. And so that book has got little recipes where the family can cook together. So I was saying in that book, maybe, we could have once a week, we could have a cooking day where mom and dad as well, and the children, everybody could be in the kitchen and cooking up something very simple and putting it on the table. And as you know, Mariko, and I know, that the children will always eat what they have helped to prepare. So
Mhm.
that's a very easy way of getting your child to cut a cucumber or to peel a tomato or whatever it is. And then they all eat together. And when they're eating together, they talk about the food, the color of the food, the vitamins in the food. Where does this food come from? You know, and I know that you ask an average child today, uh, where does your pineapple come from? What is he going to tell you? Supermarket, because he does not know. So these children's books are there to show them how the pineapple grows, or how the guava grows, or how the pineapple, whatever it is. So that book was meant to be to bring the family back to the table. So I wrote that, and after that, I wanted to do something different. So I wrote a book on flowers. Have you seen my flower book?
I have it.
Yes, Flowerlicious. I
You,
think that's a beautiful book because we're dealing. So it was showing people how to cook with flowers. And in our own countries, we have our own flowers, like the blue pea flower and the what you call it, banana blossom flower, and so on and so forth. So I did that. And after Flowerlicious, then COVID came. So everything
uh,
was at a standstill. So I was sitting and thinking, and I still felt. And everybody kept telling me, I think you've written enough books. I don't think you need to do any more, whatever. I can't sit. So I was thinking, and then one day I came across Moringa. Remember, Mariko, I grew up with Moringa. I'm from Myanmar. So we had moringa trees in our garden, and my mother always cooked with moringa. And we were told that this moringa is good for you. We put it in the dal curry, but we cooked it, but we did not know that it had such good nutrition, right?
okay.
And then during the Japanese occupation, it we survived with Moringa because it was very difficult to get vegetables. My mother then innovated and used different parts of the Moringa tree to come up with different kinds of recipes for us. So I still remember that. And when I came to Malaysia, I found that there were Moringa trees, and even in the house that I live, we have one Moringa tree, which we use it. Then, of course, the other thing that happened is that my two helpers, they are from the Philippines. And of
Mhm.
course, moringa is very big in the Philippines. So they pluck the moringa leaves every day and they cook it.
Oh.
So I thought maybe I might write something about moringa. So when I started to do research on moringa, then of course I realized how big it had become in the last 10, 15 years because the Western world has discovered moringa to be the
Mm.
tree of life, the miracle tree that cure 300 diseases, etc., etc., etc. So then I thought, again, when I looked at it and I found all these people who are growing moringa again are putting moringa into pills and using it as nutrition or moringa powder. Not many people are using it as food. So then I began to think and I thought to myself, yes, why not moringa as food? So where everybody does a lot of research on moringa, etc., I am promoting moringa as food. So that is how I came up with Moringa Licious. And of course, because my books are flower licious and because it is happy licious, so I thought, instead of calling everything, we just call it Moringa Licious. No problems at all.
Perfect.
And so that's how I came about. And that is when I got with the more research I did. Then I suddenly found somewhere in the web Moringa for Life.
Mm.
I've never heard of this, and so then I Googled some more and I found out, and I came across James Brady, his
Okay.
name. I didn't know anything. He was Moringa ambassador. And I thought to myself, wow, I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have a Moringa ambassador write something in my Moringa Licious book?
Mm.
So then I connected with James and I told James what I was doing and whether he would do a little write up for me. And James said to me, yes, I can. But he said to me that let me connect you to Amit because Amit is a little bit more international and he might be able to, give you more ideas. So he connected me to Amit. So once I started to talk to Amit, then Amit said to me, Auntie Mohana, the person that you need to connect is Mariko. And I said, but I don't know her. He said, not a problem. I will introduce you to Mariko. And that is how I came to know you. And it
Ah.
was so funny that it all happened so quickly, so fast after I'd written the book. And before I knew it, Amit was getting married. You were going to fly to India to Amit's wedding. And I said, just out of the blue, why don't you come on the way? Why don't you come and see me? Like, it was a hop, skip, and jump. Just come and see me. And you came. I mean, it was a short visit, but it was impactful. And I think sometimes, Mariko, I can talk to you in an interview, I can talk to you, but I think when you talk to somebody face to face,
Yeah.
and when you're able to see their expressions, when you're able to feel what they are feeling, I think that's completely different. So that changed everything for me and then it was so funny. 2 days after you left, Damayanti came. So she was here for very short. Again, it was 1 day or 1.5 days. And in that 1.5 days, we did so many things and so many things happened. Then Shanta came, and then suddenly out of the blue, I get a message from Dr. Laban to say that Ian was going to come. And then I was thinking to myself, yeah, it's all. And then I realized that she's coming from God knows, Nagaland, some
My
far
God.
away. And then I was thinking to myself, it's all very well, but somebody, when they come to see me, I must be able to give something in return, share something. And I wasn't really very sure why they were sending her to me. And you know what? So then I wrote to Dr. Laban. Then he gave me a long CV about her and said that, this is what she's doing. So again, she arrived. Again, it was one of those, such a long way for her to come for such a short visit. I think 2 days she had, or 2 nights, or something like that. But again, all these things that happened and happened so quickly, one after the other, have reaffirmed and made my uh, 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 dedication to Moringa even much more. And then, of course, the other thing that happened was Moringa Licious got best in the world. We got under two categories, under nature and innovation or whatever. And then I thought, of course, because as you know, I read adult books and then I read children's one. So I thought, well, we need to write a children's one. So then I did Moringalicious Malaysia for children. That book again won best in the world. So then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, now I know what I need to concentrate on. Now I know I need to concentrate on moringa, telling people how to grow moringa, how to eat moringa. As you know, the last podcast when we were talking to Jensen and we talked about grow moringa, eat moringa. So that's what I do with the school children. And, taking cue from you and learning from you. We have, like how you give your ambassador things, we have the junior ambassadors that we give out to our kids who grow moringa, so that they feel that moringa belongs to them. They become a moringa guardian. So that's what I'm trying to do. But now
Mhm.
what has happened is that in 2025, Gormand celebrated 30 years of their anniversary. And 30 years, they gave best of the best in 30 years. And this year, or last year, 2025, they decided that, with time they keep changing. So they award one book per country. And that is a very prestigious award to get a book for your country. So they decided that they were going to give me an award for Moringa Licious, best book per country. But
Yeah.
because I could not go to Riyadh, at my age, no, I can't travel and I won't. So then he was very kind and he said to me, you cannot come, it's okay. Why don't you ask the Malaysian embassy in Riyadh to come and collect this award on your behalf? So we wrote to the Malaysian embassy in Riyadh. So somebody from the Malaysian embassy went on stage because it was a big thing, of course, and being awarded uh, the best book in the world per country for Malaysia amongst 800 countries or 300 books or whatever it was. So it was a big thing. But to surprise it all, what they did also, Mariko, at the same time, they gave me for Frutastic, which was my first book, right? So Frutastic got best in the world. And then when they celebrated 20 years, they gave me best of the best in 20 years. Then when they celebrated 25 years, they gave me best of the best in 25 years. So now this time they celebrated 30 years. And so they also gave me an award for Moringalish for Frutastic. So this year from Gorman exam, I got two very prestigious awards. So I'm thinking to myself, now what we need to do is, now we've got all these books. It's Malaysia's gift to the world, and the Malaysian government has also given me an award for Moringa Licious was chosen amongst 200 books for some exhibition in China. And then we got for Moringa Licious Malaysia, we also got 50 best titles for international rights and things like that. So we have got all the right accolades that we need and so on and so forth. So now my mission now is to let people know about this book, let them know more about moringa and how to eat moringa in our daily lives.
Mm.
And I also want every single Malaysian to understand that moringa is so easy to grow. It grows in your garden. It doesn't require any special a fertilization or anything special. You just put it there and it grows. So it is from garden to table. And I'm growing moringa trees, Mariko, in front of my house. And I've got about 5 or 6 trees growing. And I'm cutting the tree so that it'll grow nice and bushy. And I want to leave a message there telling people when they're passing by, please take me home, use me. And I might do little, very simple recipes that I might hang on the tree there and tell them,
Oh,
use it in your nasi goreng or use it
good.
in your omelette, so
Wow.
that it is accessible to everybody
Mhm.
and it's not expensive.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Yeah, so the people you mentioned, these are all students of ours who really have gravitated toward you. So we were having the calls once a week with James and Amit. Amit is my online assistant at that time. And then Izmir came along, your
Yeah.
videographer, with his whole organization. And so what I started to observe is the magnetism that you have. There's the vitality and this commitment, and so many of our students really connected in. Also, Mariana Price in South Africa,
Yes.
and Dr. Laban is so connected to you, and he's doing his, version of the children's
The
book for
book.
climate
And
action.
so are you, the
Yeah, we've
children's
been doing
book.
those. And now I'm going to be writing my own book. Actually, Jensen says there's 3 books, that he wants to see from me. So we're working on the first one. And so that magnetism that you have has really drawn so much from our students. I have that experience, that personal experience, but also just from other countries as well. It's being is the progress going forward with translating it into French,
Yes.
right? And I would love to see it in Spanish. I'm actually going to get a hold of Jorge, my main student in Mexico, about translating into Spanish because that's a big, big, big population of people around the world. And all of it is really this movement that we started, in 28 years I've been working with this, and um now I've closed my shop and I'm just right here. Everything is happening at the Moringa Sanctuary. And so I'm really looking forward to what comes from this kind of consolidation, also Moringa for Kids. And and I see like all of the different places like Brunei inviting you to do these, so many opportunities for you to speak and to share that and to teach that has really put you into this whole Moringa world center stage. And it's so deserving for you, all of this commitment that you've had, just from the little idea. And this is so important because I work with our students on that. When you spark this idea,
Yeah.
that you just follow this and you follow it and and not knowing what it's going to bring. Like no one could have told you this is what your life would look like in
Yeah.
22
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
right? The same. Like I never thought this was going to be my life. I never planned it. It wasn't on a to-do list, I didn't check it off. But when you follow these little messages and you find what is in you to express that and to experience that, and each of the moments that you sat quietly and you receive information, some kind of direction or guidance or idea, and then you take action. And that's the difference between you and other authors who, maybe write only one book or they don't take that first step. That moment that you became Mohana Gill and you took that step onto that path changed your life forever,
Yes.
right? And took you in a direction you never would have known. But you
Yes.
said yes to that and you kept saying. And so that motivation, that's that fire in you. I mean, it's just, I love whenever I have these conversations with you because I can see that fire just burns brighter every time I see you. And you're always ready to be in a conversation about Moringa and so that's what's happening. Other organizations and people, they're gravitating toward what you're doing, and that that at your age most people have just given up, and you just have such a strong determination. I experienced that from my mother. she had that through her life, also the curiosity. I would say it's the curiosity of what could come and the sense of adventure, like willing to step onto there. There's a risk,
Yeah.
right? And when your husband said, just let her, it's
Yeah.
okay, just let her, it's a simple few words, but it's so powerful because
Yeah.
it just let that be a reality for you. Yeah.
And also when money is not the motivation.
Mm.
I'm not doing it for money. If I was doing it for money, Mariko, we don't sell books. People don't buy books. You
Yeah.
know that. So, in spite of getting all these awards and everybody, I can't turn around to you and say, I'm the best seller or I'm just, no, it is not. And of course, everybody who comes to you and because they know you're an author will say, can I have a book, please?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not realizing that every book that I have printed is costing me. It's nothing is free. The only thing free is my time and what I have put in. I've had to pay the printer, I've had to pay the editor, I've had to pay the photographer, I've had to pay all these things. But so like sometimes Ari will tell me and ask me, why am I doing all these things? He will always ask me,
Mm.
how much do you get?
Oh.
Every time I come back from an event, he will ask me, what did you get? And I said, nothing. And he said, why?
Mm.
So I said, I really don't need the money. But he said, other people need the money. I said, yes. But like a lot of the people I've said, like you, Mariko, I've said, you printed and whatever little bit you use it for whatever you need to, so it doesn't really make that much difference. But I've got to start to think a little bit more seriously now because I don't want to be left with 500 books sitting in my house and then my children not knowing what to do with those 500 books once I'm not there anymore. So one has got to be sometimes a little bit more practical, but basically I'm doing it because it gives me that kind of satisfaction.
Mm. It's priceless, the kind of
Yes,
joy that you get from that. And I can say that the time that I spent with you was, and to this day, the most precious for my own Moringa journey. It was just a few days, but it was every single moment filled. And
yeah,
so even though it seems like in the amount of time it was short, it has expanded so much in the experience of it. And then I see like with Lynn and Christine, you're two, they are so in this for you, all the foods that they make every day and the joy. It's just like sheer joy to be
yes,
in that space. Yeah, and so when Dama came, because she was trying, we were trying to coordinate a lot of people's schedules and coming, together to see you. But one at a time, I think you were able to then have, really
it
profound
was a little
time.
bit more special, I think.
Very special. And I know that Dama brought books back with her. And Shantika is just forever changed,
Yeah,
this whole journey.
yeah.
And we never know. We never know. When I took that trip, it really did change so much in so many people's lives. And now I see that our job now is to inspire and motivate the next generation. And I don't know what my children will do with Moringa, in their life. I can only hope that that's something that they will embrace, and what gets left behind is something substantial for them and then the
Yes.
grandchildren. So. I really want to focus on Moringa for children, and I know you do. And it is the legacy that is being, already cultivated by you and being left. And I see it with Ari because you sent me this little video of his little cooking, and he has that spark. And getting that Junior Ambassador Award, and it was such an honor for us to give you the honorary award because you're truly ambassador for Moringa, and even, more so of all of the different people that have come through our training and continue to work with us. you have, because of the deep commitment that you have, and every day, like every day, Moringa is in your life, in your world. It's because you're eating it every day. You are the living example of what happens when you eat Moringa every day. So should just such as inspiration. And I look to, like, we're wanting to release this for Mother's Day, and in honor of our mothers and our future mothers,
Sure.
the children, and what way that this message will continue through for generations to come. Um,
Because Moringa Dishes is not just about food. It is a legacy. It's about the legacy that we're going to leave behind. Yeah.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
Moringa Malicious Malaysia we use, I mean, that was such a delight and an honor to have to be in one of your books. And
Yes.
I mean, it's at my coffee table. I have it there, and it's such an easy thing for people to read for adults. I think that's a very non threatening way to learn about it. Because there's some other Moringa books, and I thought, oh, I should write all the history and research about Moringa. But a children's book is easy for somebody to pick up and read and learn a
Yeah.
little bit, and then spark that curiosity and let that curiosity bring them somewhere.
Yeah.
That,
I always feel like you and me, Mariko, we have planted the seeds.
mm,
Now it's up to our children to make sure that that tree, the seed grows into a tree. And we are planting seeds of knowledge and values that will last them a lifetime.
mm.
That's what we are trying to do.
So well said. So well said. So I know that this prompts now another interview with other students who have this impact of you, um, because there's so many, and it just continues on. And I hope other students who live in that part of the world, also Amit and Shivani, have been thinking how they're going to organize being able to have time to come to see you and spend time. But that opening up of your home, I remember at the time, maybe it was Rakesh who said, "You don't know these people. You're just going to invite her for she's coming
Yeah,
from
that,
the
and it
other side of the
happened
world."
so many people almost at the same time. And he kept telling me, he said, Mom, who are you? Do you know them? Do you know what their backgrounds are? Do you know where they come from? And but at that point, Mariko, I didn't even think. I just said to you, come, and you came, and it happened.
Yeah, that's great. And that level of trust, because you're still following that little message. Move
Yes.
forward, take the steps, say yes. So important in all of our journeys. So, well, I want to thank you so much for spending this time. It's late for you. Now it's time for you to sit with your quiet time for the next few hours. I did the same, when I was, get my kids to bed, and from 10 to 2, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that was my quiet time when I was first
Yeah.
working with Moringa. You have to find that special time, no matter what. Every day, that's the time that you can give to yourself. That's the biggest gift.
I think the most important thing for me now is the little time that I have left. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, whatever time that I have. I still want to do as much as I possibly can. And most of it is dissemination of information, telling people more about Moringa. Because even when I give a talk, Mariko, in Malaysia, 80% of the people that I'm talking to have not heard of
Yeah.
Moringa.
Yeah. And that's the case with me too. I did an event on for the autistic community. It's so important for Moringa to get into that community, because nutrition is one of the ways that they can have been successful. So many people successful with dealing with a lot of the issues. Um, and I just thought nobody knew about it. And so getting to the decision makers at different levels of organizations and government, is like, we got to get into the places so that
It's very difficult,
information can.
because this is like a very small part of the whole and an unimportant part of the whole. So they don't think that they should even focus on it or to. So, but I always feel that, somewhere along the line, maybe one day we might find one person who suddenly sees the bright light and says, wow, yeah, we need to do it, and
Yeah.
then we can take it forward. So I like my mother always used to say, you have to do your best and you can't do better than that. And then the rest of it, you have to leave it to him and to destiny. And you try and you do your best and you do it in all sincerity. And then, by and large, I think that you can't go wrong when you are following your heart and when you are doing the things. Most importantly, these are the things, Mariko, that keep me going. If I did
Mm,
not have these things to keep me going, what would I do?
mm. So
So,
true. Such wise words. My mother too said, follow your heart. In the
yes,
face of all of the challenge and all everybody saying, what are you doing? And why don't you just stay with your very well paid, consulting job and all that career? And something is more important. Yeah, something is more important. And taking that step, that small step, lets you then start the journey. So I thank you so much for this time, and I'm really
just a
looking forward. Yeah,
parting word for
yeah,
Mother's Day. I think I want mothers, the present mothers, and the mothers that are going to be in the future, not to underestimate their role. They play a very, very important and extremely significant and very, very strong influence on their children. So don't give up on your children. Don't give up your. I think you must be proud that you are taking care of a new generation and imparting to them the good qualities, whether it is of sharing or whether it is of caring or whatever it is. So I think that the modern woman maybe today has forgotten and thinks that motherhood is really not very important as long as I have my career and I have my things going. But I think the most important thing in your life has got to be your children.
yeah.
It has
I
got to
agree.
be your children.
I agree. I think that that is the new message has to be the old message.
Yes,
You know,
yes, yeah,
family is everything. Mothers are so important. Fathers to just be there for the children. I had that moment, of deciding when my first son was born, not taking the importance of having some big contract with some big corporation, that growing a human being was
yeah,
far more important and impactful than any big contract that I might ever have because of my education or all of that, the career. I chose also to stay home and to be raising those children, to raise human beings and to be able to influence future generations because of that dedication and the character that you can pass on. Mothers are so important in
yes,
that role, and fathers to support and say, let her write.
yes.
All
That
right.
makes sense.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to what's next for you. So keep us posted and
Yes,
what your
and
new adventures are.
yes,
Any
and
other
keep in
books? Are
touch.
we going to look for any new books from you?
Well, I have one last project that I'm doing.
Of course.
I have four books, four children's books. Uh, they're already published, but
Oh,
because of COVID or whatever, we never got to launch them. So there's one book called Fruitastic Malaysia. It's all about Malaysian fruits. So these four books are primarily for Malaysia. So we've got Fruitastic Malaysia, which is about Malaysian fruits. We've got Malaysian awesome animals, where we talk a little bit to the children about our species, like we have only 200 tigers left, and the logging that goes on and whatever else. And then there's the Flowerlicious book for children, which again talks about our flowers in our country, and the Moringalicious book. So these four books, Mariko, what I'm doing now, I'm putting them together into one, like a little box, and we are going to launch it and we're going to call it a Malaysian treasure. So these books are basically for our children. I want every single Malaysian child to have access to those books where they can be proud of their country, their vegetables, their
Yeah.
fruit, their animals, and everything else. So I hope that I will be able to accomplish that.
Well, I'm sure you will from your 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Oh, it's such a delight. I'm so honored to know you, to spend this time, to be on the Moringa journey with you, Mohana. It has been
And
truly.
thank you for helping me, Mariko. I learned so much from you. I
Mm,
learned so much from you. I mean, I would have written the book, but it would not have that kind of a broad idea if I had not got to know you and realize that wow, there's also somebody who's the Moringa for life, who's been working on Moringa for that many number of years. So putting everything together and coming up with something, then I think the end result has been pretty good. I think so.
it's been wonderful and great, and I really look forward to more. So happy Mother's Day. This is
Yes,
a
and you
tradition
too.
to mothers all over the world. Whoever you know that's a mother, just, spend
The
some
most
time.
important, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, right? And it
Yes,
stands so much even up to today. That is true.
still true
And
today.
our children, the food that we put on their plate, I always say your fate is on your plate. So
Ah,
depends on your mother, what kind of food she puts on your plate. So we are the ones who put this food on the plates of our children so that they can grow. So we have got to be aware what kind of food we need to put on that plate.
your fate is in on
On
your
your
plate.
plate.
I
Yes.
love it. I love it. I'm gonna let Jensen know. Jensen is mostly because he's a chef. He does a lot of the
Yes.
cooking,
Yeah.
and things from scratch and everything's quite remarkable. I'm going to see them the end of this month.
Oh, lovely.
I'll get a
Yes.
chance to spend time with them, and I'll bring some new Moringa activities with them, just try to influence. So when I go there, I do origami, and I'll do a Moringa with them. And I always am, I marvel over this. They have all these big fancy toys, and they'll just spend hours playing with a piece of paper, making an animal, or. So just putting that little bit is a message, and what they do with it, they do whatever. But also with moringas, you just are like you said, we're planting the seeds.
Good. So my all my good wishes to Jensen and family,
Thank you.
and God willing, we will catch up at some stage or the other.
Yes, of course. Always stay in contact. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Good night.
Good
Keep well.
night.